The sun was just beginning to rise over the small village of Greendale, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Thomas stood at the edge of his field, his weathered hands resting on the wooden fence as he looked out at the rows of young wheat swaying gently in the morning breeze. He was a simple man, a farmer who had worked this land for over 30 years. His face was lined with age and hard work, but his eyes still held a spark of hope that never seemed to fade. Thomas lived alone in a modest cottage at the edge of his farm. His wife, Mary, had passed away 5 years ago, and his children had moved to the city in search of better opportunities. But Thomas never complained. Every morning, he would wake up, kneel beside his bed, and thank God for another day. "Lord, I don't have much," he would say softly, "but I have enough. Thank you for your blessings." This particular season had been challenging. The rains had come late, and when they finally arrived, they were too harsh. Half of Thomas's wheat crop had been damaged by the flooding. His neighbor, Robert, had stopped by one afternoon, shaking his head as he surveyed the waterlogged fields. "Thomas, you should give up on this land," Robert said, his voice filled with concern. "It's not worth it anymore. Look at what happened. You've lost so much." Thomas smiled gently and wiped the mud from his boots. "I haven't lost everything, Robert. I still have my faith. God will provide." Robert sighed and walked away, muttering something about being practical. But Thomas didn't mind. He had learned long ago that faith wasn't about seeing the outcome first. It was about trusting even when things looked impossible. Weeks passed, and Thomas worked tirelessly to save what remained of his crop. He would wake before dawn and work until the stars came out, his back aching and his hands blistered. The other farmers in the village began to talk. "Poor old Thomas," they would say. "He's wasting his time. That land is cursed this year." But Thomas paid no attention to the gossip. Instead, he continued to pray every night, his voice steady and full of gratitude. "Thank you, Lord, for the strength to work. Thank you for the air I breathe and the ground beneath my feet." One evening, as Thomas was walking back to his cottage, he noticed a young boy sitting by the roadside, crying. The boy's clothes were torn, and his face was dirty. Thomas approached him gently. "What's wrong, son?" he asked. The boy looked up with tears streaming down his cheeks. "I'm lost, sir. I came to the village with my father, but I got separated from him. I don't know where to go." Thomas knelt down beside the boy and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Don't worry, child. We'll find your father. But first, let's get you something to eat. You look hungry." He took the boy to his cottage and gave him bread, cheese, and warm milk. The boy ate gratefully, and Thomas could see the relief washing over his small face. "What's your name?" Thomas asked. "Daniel," the boy replied softly. "Thank you, sir. You're very kind." That night, Thomas walked through the village with Daniel, asking everyone if they had seen the boy's father. Finally, at the town square, they found a frantic man calling out Daniel's name. When the father saw his son, he ran toward him and swept him up in his arms, tears of joy streaming down his face. "Thank God you're safe," the father cried. He turned to Thomas with gratitude shining in his eyes. "How can I ever repay you?" Thomas shook his head. "No need for that. Just take care of your boy. God bless you both." As Thomas walked home that night, he felt a deep sense of peace. He didn't have much money, and his crops were still struggling, but he had been able to help someone in need. That, he thought, was worth more than any harvest. The next morning brought unexpected news. A traveling merchant stopped by Thomas's farm with a proposition. "I've been looking for quality wheat for my business," the merchant said. "I heard you're an honest man, and I'd like to buy whatever you can harvest this season. I'll pay you double the market price because I value integrity over quantity." Thomas was stunned. "But sir, my crop isn't as good this year. The floods damaged most of it." The merchant smiled. "I don't need perfection, Thomas. I need someone I can trust. Your reputation speaks louder than any crop." Within weeks, Thomas's remaining wheat was harvested and sold. The payment he received was more than he had made in the past 3 years combined. He stood in his field, looking at the empty land with tears in his eyes. "You never left me, Lord," he whispered. "Even when I couldn't see the way, you were leading me." The other farmers were amazed. Robert came to visit, his expression sheepish. "Thomas, I was wrong about you. I thought you were foolish for holding on to your faith. But I see now that you were wiser than all of us." Thomas smiled warmly. "Faith isn't foolishness, Robert. It's the only thing that keeps us going when everything else fails. God's mercy is greater than any storm." That winter, Thomas used his earnings to repair his cottage and help other struggling farmers in the village. He never boasted about his good fortune or forgot where his blessings came from. Every morning, he continued to kneel beside his bed and thank God, not just for the harvest, but for the journey that taught him to trust even in the darkest times. Thomas learned that faith isn't about demanding miracles or expecting life to be easy. It's about believing that God's mercy is always present, even when we can't see it. Sometimes the harvest comes late, sometimes it looks different than we expected. But it always comes to those who believe and keep working with grateful hearts. Moral: when storms destroy your fields, let faith water your soul. Trust in God's timing, and you'll harvest more than you ever planted.